This will be our first two experiments, which are largely the same. We're just going to be doing it with two different windmill vane sizes. So for this experiment, you're going to need your digital multimeter with its wires. You're going to need two of the alligator clip wires. You're going to need the ruler. You're going to need the windmill you built. You're going to need your fan. I have it sitting up a little bit just so I don't have to worry about my windmill hitting the ground, so I just propped it on a box. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to hook it up to the voltmeter and turn it on. So we're going to take our meter and we're going to go again to voltage, and we're going to go to this lowest voltage setting down here, which is the 200M setting. I'm then going to take my wires and I'm going to clamp them on. And in my case, I'm hooking up red to red and black to black. We're going to see that actually you may actually get a negative setting even though you quote unquote hook it up correctly. And that's because of the direction you spin it actually changes the voltage. Now, the end of these motor wires are stripped. It's almost impossible to see on the camera. You'll see a little bit of silver there. If you're having a hard time clamping on it, you can strip the end of this off. Again, with a wire stripper, or you could use a knife to carefully strip it off. But if you're just kind of careful, and I did forget my glasses, so I hope I get this right, you should be able to clamp onto it. You can know if you tug a little bit, you know that you should have connection. Okay, to run our fan, it's pretty straightforward. You can see there's an off setting, there's on, and if you hit on, that's what changes between it. If you actually leave this plugged in for a while, it'll charge up and you can use it as a portable fan. But you can see I can go to 1, 2, and 3 settings. Okay, I'm going to start on the 2 setting for our first experiment with our vanes. So the first thing I want you to do is to have your vanes sit as flat as possible. Okay, so I want them to be sitting flat. You can see from the side. I'm going to just try to line them up a little bit. You don't have to get too fussy with this, but I want it to be relatively flat. And then I want you to go 6 inches away from the fan. By the way, make sure that these wires, again, hidden by my wrist there, that these wires don't touch, but you can kind of just hold them out of the way. You don't want them to get caught in the vane when you're doing it. So I'm just going to take my windmill and go 6 inches out, and I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to try to observe what happens. Okay. Now, this could get a little bit stuck, so feel free just to give it a nudge and see if it does something when you do that. And again, if you're a little wobbly, you may need to just realign it. Again, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but you don't want it really wobbling badly. You can even tilt it a little bit in case you're having some trouble getting it going. The next thing I want you to do is to turn these vanes so they're 90 degrees out. And so you can see that they're sticking nice and perpendicular. And do the same thing, hold it. You may need to give it a little bit of a nudge. And again, I want to just flatten them a little bit. And observe what happens. Nudge it, tilt it a little bit. I mean, if you tilt it 90 degrees, of course, that's not cheating, as we'll say. You can certainly get the spin. But see if you observe anything here. And then the last configuration, and the one that you do all of the rest of the running in, is to tilt these at about 45 degrees. Now, one key thing here, whatever way you tilt them, I don't care, but you need to tilt all of the vanes in the same direction. If you mix up the directions, you actually could end up such that the windmill won't spin, because the wind will be trying to push some vanes one way and the other vanes the other way. So I'm going to just tilt them all so that they kind of all go into the same direction. And how can I tell they're in the same direction? Well, this edge is high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. If it were high, high, then I know I had 2 tilted in the other direction. And then you're going to want to go out 6 inches, and you're going to want to get your windmill spinning. For the moment, you don't have to worry about recording anything. The first part of the lab is just observations. Then you're going to do some measurements as a function of distance. So, let's see if I can get the voltmeter in here so you can kind of see the numbers. So you're going to want to go at 3 inches, And again, don't tilt it perpendicular, but you may need to just tilt it a little bit to kind of get a maximum. And you're going to want to watch the voltage reading. And again, don't worry, it's going to jump around a lot. Don't worry about it. You'll notice in my case it's negative, and that's because of the way it's spinning. If I were to actually get it to spin in the other direction, I could make it positive. So that's just an artifact of what it is. Don't worry if it's negative, just write down the value of it. Don't worry about the sign. So you're going to want to do a measurement at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 1 foot. And what you want to do is just sit there and let it spin for a little bit and watch it. And then watching it, just kind of take a mental average of what's going on. So in this case, I see it's jumping between kind of 149 and 155. So I'd call this about 150, 152, something like that. And then again, you're going to do this for 3 different distances. Then you're going to switch over to the large windmill vanes, and you're going to do the same set of measurements. You're going to do it at 3 inches, you're going to do it at 6 inches, you're going to do it at 1 foot. Don't worry, we're not going to do the flat facing and the perpendicular. You'll have observed what you need to observe with that with the small vanes. Then, when you're done with everything, once you've done your distances with this particular one, then I want you to go to 6 inches, and I want you to change the fan speed. So I want you to run it and record your voltage on the low speed. Again, being 6 inches out, and 6 inches for me is the face of the vane. I then want you to do it on medium speed, and then I want you to do it on high speed. So your measurements are going to be set to medium, 3, 6, 12 inches, and then at 6 inches, do it at speed low, medium, high. And then you're going to repeat those measurements with the big vanes.